Hello, and thank you for your interest in the U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road North Corridor study. The following recorded presentation will provide an overview of the study, discuss the current study status, and identify the next steps moving forward. Please consider providing feedback using the online comment form located on the public involvement page of the study website or by the other methods outlined at the end of this presentation. We will begin by providing a general overview of the U.S. Highway 51 corridor and study background. We will then discuss the study purpose and need, the alternatives development process, and agency coordination and public engagement. Finally, we'll discuss the next steps moving forward. It is important to note that this is a corridor study, and the Wisconsin DOT does not have any construction projects associated with the U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road North study scheduled at this time. On this slide is an overview map showing the limits of the study. The study starts just south of the State Highway 30 interchange in the city of Madison and extends approximately 6.5 miles north along U.S. Highway 51 to State Highway 19 in the village of DeForest. Within the study area, U.S. Highway 51 is a national highway system route, a Wisconsin DOT long truck route, and an oversized overweight truck route. It is an important principal arterial for statewide, regional, and local travel and is a primary north-south route through the east side of the city of Madison. Existing average annual daily traffic volumes on U.S. Highway 51 within the corridor range from around 12,800 vehicles per day near Hanson Road to 48,900 vehicles per day just south of State Highway 30. Within the study limits, there are 3 interchanges and 20 at-grade intersections. Speed limits range from 35 miles per hour in the East Washington Avenue area to 55 miles an hour north of Piersdorf Street. While the north study limit extends to State Highway 19, data collection and analysis and any proposed improvements in the area between Don Teal Road and State Highway 19 are anticipated to be completed as part of the I-39-90-94 interstate study. With that in mind, this presentation does not include information for that section of the Stoughton Road corridor. The U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road corridor was originally approved for environmental study by the Transportation Projects Commission in 2011. The study limits went from Voges Road in the village of McFarland to State Highway 19 in the village of DeForest. The alternatives developed during the previous study were contentious due to the potential impacts to businesses and property owners and differences from local development plans. The study was paused in 2017 while the Wisconsin DOT reevaluated planning priorities statewide, and it was never completed. However, study of the corridor was resumed in 2022 with a new approach to help address the concerns received during the previous study. It was determined the best approach for the U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road corridor was to initiate 2 separate environmental studies, a south study with limits from Voges Road to State Highway 30, and a north study with limits from State Highway 30 to State Highway 19. The new approach allows flexibility to address issues and needs specific to each study corridor and focus on specific community plans in those areas. The new studies will utilize information compiled during the previous study, but will investigate lower impact alternatives where feasible to address the corridor needs. As stated earlier, this public involvement meeting is focused on the Stoughton Road North study from State Highway 30 to State Highway 19. Future public involvement meetings will be held in 2023 for the Stoughton Road South study from Voges Road to State Highway 30. That completes the study background. Now we will discuss the study purpose and the corridor needs. The proposed purpose of the study is to accommodate existing and future travel demand with a focus on safety issues that affect travel on Stoughton Road. The corridor needs identified to this point include addressing safety. There are several areas and intersections on the corridor with safety concerns. There have also been several bicycle and pedestrian crashes on U.S. Highway 51 within the corridor in the last 10 years. Many located in the East Washington Avenue to Anderson Street area. Addressing infrastructure deficiencies. The pavement has deteriorated and is nearing the end of its useful life in areas of the corridor. There are also several design features on the corridor that are considered deficient under Wisconsin DOT standards. And finally, addressing travel demand. There are areas of the corridor that currently experience delays and backups during peak travel times. This is projected to get worse in the future as traffic volumes increase. We'll now provide more detail on the corridor needs that have been identified, starting with safety. Over the 5-year safety analysis period from 2017 to 2021, there were almost 600 crashes on the corridor, which averages out to over 2 crashes per week. Over 150 of these crashes involved an injury, and there were 2 fatalities. In addition, there were 3 reported bicycle and pedestrian crashes. Those crashes occurred in the East Washington Avenue to Anderson Street area. The highest intersection crash locations on the corridor are at State Highway 30, East Washington Avenue, Anderson Street, and County Highway CV. The East Washington Avenue intersection was the 3rd highest crash intersection in the City of Madison based on the 2020 City of Madison Crash Facts report. Pavement on the state highway system gets rated on a regular basis. Based on these ratings, the existing US Highway 51 pavement surface condition is currently rated very poor at the East Washington Avenue intersection and in the northbound lanes between East Washington Avenue and Piersdorf Street. The US Highway 51 southbound pavement surface condition from County Highway CV to Hepker Road is deteriorating and is anticipated to reach a rating of poor within the next 5 to 10 years. Based on Wisconsin DOT design standards, there are several design features on the existing Stoughton Road mainline that are considered deficient. These include the horizontal alignment at 3 locations shown in red on the map, the stopping sight distance at 2 locations shown in blue, and access spacing, which is the distance between US Highway 51 and side roads or driveways at 6 locations shown in orange. The study team is still in the process of collecting and analyzing current traffic data along the corridor to determine existing and future travel demand needs. Because of this, data collected in late 2015 and analyzed in 2016 as part of the previous study has been used to identify the potential areas of concern that will be shown on this slide. This information will be updated and presented at a future public involvement meeting. Several intersections on the corridor had existing operational issues during peak travel times that caused vehicle backups and delay. The red circles on the map identify the locations of most concern. These include East Washington Avenue, Anderson Street, Kinsman Boulevard, Hanson Road, and County Highway CV. If no improvements were made, by 2050, 12 of the 14 intersections between State Highway 30 and the interstate were anticipated to have operational issues that would lead to longer backups and further delay on the corridor. To reiterate, the study team is still in the process of updating corridor traffic volumes and projections, but based on previous analysis, the locations highlighted on this slide are the areas where it is anticipated operational needs could occur. Please note that recent land use projections indicate large increases in both housing and employment to the north and east of the US Highway 51 corridor. This development is anticipated to contribute to higher traffic volumes along US Highway 51 in the future. Detailed alternatives development has not yet begun. With assistance from local municipalities, the public, and other stakeholders, a range of alternatives will be developed that align with the study's purpose and corridor needs. The alternatives will aim for compatibility with local plans, limit environmental impacts to the extent practicable, and identify potential enhancements to the bicycle, pedestrian, and transit networks. Communication and coordination are crucial to the success of the study. The study team will be communicating and coordinating with the general public, federal and state resource agencies, Native American tribes, local municipalities, and other stakeholders to gather input and feedback throughout the study process. Additional stakeholders include neighborhood associations, businesses and business groups, environmental justice populations, developers, emergency responders, schools, property owners and residents, special interest groups, and other stakeholders as requested. The US Highway 51 Stoughton Road North study is anticipated to be completed in the fall of 2024. The end goals of the study are to identify a preferred alternative for the corridor and complete the necessary environmental documentation required under the National Environmental Policy Act so that the project can be approved for final design and construction. So far in 2022, the study team has started data collection on the corridor. the initial development of the study purpose and identification of corridor needs, and begun a high-level investigation of potential alternative concepts that could address the corridor needs. These activities are anticipated to continue through the end of the year and into early 2023. Continuing in 2023, more detailed development and evaluation of potential alternatives will occur. Environmental documentation of potential impacts will begin, and towards the end of the year, the identification of a preferred alternative for the corridor is anticipated. In 2024, it is anticipated that the environmental document will be published for public review. The document will provide information on the study purpose and need, the alternatives that were evaluated, and the impacts of those alternatives. It will also discuss why the preferred alternative was identified for the corridor. Publication of the document will be followed by a public hearing. The final approval of the document by the Federal Highway Administration is anticipated to occur in the fall. This would complete the study. Public involvement activities and engagement will occur throughout the study. Future public involvement meetings will be scheduled to present and get feedback on the alternatives developed and to present and get feedback on a potential preferred alternative. The Wisconsin DOT is studying potential improvements on other corridors near the U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road North Study area. Adjacent studies include the U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road South Study from Voges Road in the village of McFarland to just south of State Highway 30 in Madison, and the I-39-90-94 Corridor Study, which extends from the U.S. Highway 12 and 18 Beltline in Madison to the U.S. Highway 12 State Highway 16 interchange in Wisconsin Dells. The U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road North Study Team is coordinating closely with the other study teams in areas where the study limits intersect. There is also a U.S. Highway 51 pavement replacement project for the northbound lanes between East Washington Avenue and Piersdorf Street scheduled for construction in 2023. This will address the surface condition of the pavement in that area, but will not address the East Washington Avenue intersection itself. Your feedback is important to us. We would appreciate any comments you have regarding the study approach, the proposed study purpose, and the corridor needs identified in this presentation. Let us know if there are any additional corridor needs or areas of concern that were not mentioned. The public involvement page of the study website has an online comment form where you can provide feedback, as well as a subscription form to sign up for study update notifications. You may also contact Wisconsin DOT Project Manager Jeff Behrens with any questions or comments you may have. Please provide comments by November 14, 2022 to assist in the decision-making process moving forward. Thank you for viewing this presentation. We appreciate your interest in the U.S. Highway 51 Stoughton Road North study, and we look forward to receiving your input as we continue forward with the study process.